the COVID situation, and then next year we'll be even more prepared to produce something special as a squad.
And Eva, just I'm sure you've got the same feelings as Tim does regarding that, but how does that change your mindset that, you know, I know how long you have to prepare for an Olympic cycle. It's about 3 years before the event you actually start thinking about it, and to have it sort of taken away from you, you know, only months before you're meant to be in Tokyo. How does that change your mindset in terms of what you have to do to be ready for it?
Yeah, I think it's still a weird situation that we're in, actually, because of course it was very disappointing that it got postponed, but then on the other hand, people are dying as well. So then luckily it got postponed, and we can work towards it again, even though it's a year later. I think you have to sort of accept it and then move on, and that's what we have done for now. We are already back in training, still with some protocols, but we're training already, and hopefully we can make it happen next year.
And I know you and I just talked about this before the kids came on air. Do you want to just expand on that a bit, Ava, and so that the kids, you know, I was explaining to Tim before you came on camera, it's so frustrating for our kids at the moment that we can't be in school and play cricket with them and now, but it doesn't matter what sport it is. Some sports we're not even allowed to play at the moment. You know, the best hockey team in the world, explain what protocols you're having to put in place in training because of COVID-19.
Yeah, so at first we weren't allowed to do anything as well, but we've always been allowed to be able to go outside here. So at first it was actually just training by yourself and running, because we didn't know when we could start training again. And then when we could, it's just actually more passing. So we have like 1.5 meters distance in between each other. Always, we split our team up in groups of 2. So we have a max of 12 girls on the team, and then 2 of our coaching staff. And then we do, passing drills and shooting on goal. And that's it for now, actually. But it's very nice to be able to do something together and maybe to focus on, even like small little things like your trapping or your passing that you normally can't really focus on because you're really focusing on the whole team. And now you can focus a bit more on yourself, which is actually quite nice for change as well.
But you also said something that was very interesting to me beforehand, that you would normally, and this is where the kids really need to listen, you would normally in training play lots of small-sided games, wouldn't you?
Yes, exactly.
How many sides, for give an example?
We can play like 2v2 or 3v3, or even on a whole field we play 11 versus 11. We actually play a lot of games here. We just love to do that. So I think every time we train, we always finish with mini games. But often during training, we play a lot of games, actually, always, because in the end, that's what it's all about. That's what you have to do to compete as well, play games.
There we go, guys. So even the best hockey player and the best hockey team in the world will do small-sided games. So next time you ask me why we're not playing an 11v11 football game, there's your answer. Ava, sticking with you, I want you to just give the kids a sort of, try and give them an understanding of what hockey is like in Holland. You know, it's comparable if you take into account the population. The population of Holland's about 16 million, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and we're nearly 70 million. You know, it is comparable in terms of you as a hockey player compared to a Premier League footballer in England in terms of the amount of press you get, live television access, and so on and so forth. Do you want to just expand a little bit about that? Because hockey over here, you know, has nothing, no press, no money.
I think it's not as big as the Premier League for you, but it's definitely a bit more than nothing. I think it is here. You play for your national team, and then you play for your club team as well. So even as kids, we don't really play at school. So always after school, you used to go to your club and then train with your club. So I think from a young age, you already train at your club, grow into your teams. And most of the time you really stick to your club as well. If they play at the highest level and you want to be at the highest level. And then I think with the national team, when we play with the national team, there's way more media and TV coverage than when we play with our club teams. But yet again, on the Sundays, we do often have like the highlights that you can watch on the TV. But not often will there be full games being televised. Yeah.
I mean, I did some reading just before we came on. There's roughly 450 AstroTurfs, hockey AstroTurfs, not 4G surfaces like we get over here. And there's not even, I don't think we have 100 in the UK. And I was for the kids on the call who've all been up to East Grinstead Hockey Club, which is our local club. There is one turf there. Some of the clubs in Holland, there could be up to 7 hockey turfs at that club, which just shows that it is a massive thing in Holland. And just want to pick up on one thing you said there that will be strange for the kids. I think I'm right in saying there is no hockey played in school, Eva. Is that right, in Holland?
Yeah, you sometimes do it, but it's not like we do have sports, but it's more like all of the sports you do maybe once or twice, and then that's it. We don't really have particularly that you play hockey for a year or throughout a few years. We just play sports in general, but not really a specific sport. Yeah, so not at all.
And Tim, what was it like in terms of just speaking from a hockey perspective? In a minute, I want to ask you more about playing other sports, but what was it like from a hockey perspective in South Africa?
With regards to the school,
schooling and playing out of school and so on and so forth.
So we have a very similar setup to you in the UK, where sports in schools is very popular, and even hockey in schools in South Africa is played by many pupils. And so we all go through primary school and high school playing either 2 or 3 sports within the year, and that's highly competitive. In my high school, it would be something where you'd be able to get bursaries to high school. It's very similar to the UK. So in comparison to Holland, where the club system is very strong, it's not as strong in South Africa. And you would generally go into the club system after high school, whether you go into the university or whether you go into a club. And that level of hockey is, it's definitely improving, but it's nowhere at the level that it is in Europe or in Holland especially. So that's something they're trying to improve. And as South African national players, we obviously need to improve our level. So we try our best to get to clubs around the world, whether it's in Europe or in Australia, and play club hockey there.
You've just touched on something that I want to talk about in a minute in terms of trying to improve the level of the quality in South Africa. But before I do that, I think it'd be quite interesting to for the kids to know that actually, without wanting to say this too loudly, you're quite a talented sportsman. I believe you were in the South African cricket under-19 squad. Is that accurate?
That's incorrect, Mr. Chapman, and not as talented as you, I believe. I'm not too sure if your kids are aware of your talents on the golf course and on the cricket field. But
maybe you were in the provincial cricket setup then, which is like a county setup. So, and you enjoyed playing lots of other sports. Why hockey, and how long did you keep playing the other sports for? We've got, as I was explaining to you just before we came on air, all these guys are about to move on to a different school and so on and so forth, where perhaps they might have to specialize a bit more. What advice would you give to them about playing as many different sports as possible?
Yeah, so my journey when I went into high school, we had the choice between a summer and a winter sport. So in the summer, I chose cricket, and in the winter, I went for hockey because of my smaller stature, and I thought I would maybe, I would be broken into pieces if I chose rugby. But as soon as I went through high school, then cricket became a sport that I was very interested in, and I had a huge passion for and really enjoyed it. And after high school, I kept playing both sports during high school. After high school, I tried to make cricket a career. So I went into a provincial setup and tried to make one of the county setups as you would have it in the UK. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I kept playing hockey at the time. And hockey, then I got an opportunity to play in one of the under-21 South African teams. And that allowed me to go play a World Cup in Singapore. And I was fortunate there to be seen by one of the German hockey coaches. And he offered me an opportunity to play club hockey in Germany. And since then, I've been very fortunate to play in club teams around the world, from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Holland, Malaysia, and it just kept going. And I think it stems from my passion for traveling. I've really enjoyed just being able to travel to all these places, and also just the love of hockey, the camaraderie of team sport. I have a huge passion for. So that kept going. And I remember saying to my parents at that under-21 World Cup, where I said this would be my last tournament and I would stop hockey and play cricket or other sports. And it just kept going on to the next tournament, and then it led to more bigger tournaments such as an Olympic Games, and I haven't looked back since. So the advice I would say to all of you year 8s going into high school is just play as many sports as you can and see which one really gets your interest and your passion, and it'll be clear to you in maybe in your first year of high school, and maybe at the end of high school, and maybe even after high school, you'll then see which sport is really getting you up early in the morning to train, or when you're coming home from late at night because you've been training. But it's a real privilege to play any sport. But I wouldn't close any doors too early on with keeping the options open.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fascinating answer. It's a fascinating story. Cricket being your number one sport, but you end up, in a career in hockey. I'm gonna go back a bit later to talk about the impact of growing up in South Africa and so on and so forth. The kids want to hear about that, but I want to talk to you just about the Olympics, both of you about the Olympics. But Tim, you first. I gave the kids a little article just beforehand about what it means to be an Olympian, and the first line actually, I had this question already, but it was directly linked in terms of, you are an Olympian just by representing your country at the Olympics. And not wanting to put a dampener on any of your achievements, but for you as part of the South African team going to the Olympics, that is your major achievement. Let's face it, you aren't in all likelihood going to be challenging for a medal. Obviously you aspire to do the very best you can, but there are teams who are stronger than you, and that. How does that impact your mindset? What challenges does that bring you by knowing that you're going to this amazing tournament, but you're not going to get to the final stages in all likelihood?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in the beginning of this conversation where you said it's a mindset. Where I remember going to the London Olympics and we sat down as a group before the tournament and we tried to put some goals in place, and we all agreed that it was a dream to win a medal. And I think it's everyone's dream as an Olympian to try and win a medal, whether it's gold, silver or bronze. But we had to be realistic in our goal setting, and we knew that from where we've come as a national team, it was realistic to try and finish in the top 8. Unfortunately, we didn't do that, and we have to look at our preparation. We had to look at key moments during games. But it definitely evolves over time, and we've tried to change that mindset now going forward. We're looking towards Tokyo. We've had a team meeting already, and we've said, we're not just going there to compete. Yes, it's a huge privilege and an honor to attend Olympic Games, but we have a bigger goal and a bigger ambition where we feel we have an opportunity to aspire a nation in South Africa, just like the Rugby World Cup happened last year, where they managed to win that, as you all know, and they've given a lot of people hope in South Africa. So we strongly feel that we have a chance to get a result that will aspire kids in South Africa to pick up a hockey stick or even just talk about hockey and try and grow the game. So like you said, it's a mindset, and it's just about how realistic you want to make your goals as a team.
Great answer. And Eva, similar, I suppose, in your mind, what Tim was just saying about inspiring a generation, inspiring younger kids in a sport that's so popular in Holland. But, being honest, you are going to the Olympics for one reason next year, and that's to win a gold medal. If you don't win a gold medal, the press, your team, your coaches and stuff will probably say, we didn't hit our target, which is a realistic target, isn't it, for the Dutch hockey team? You are expected to win gold.
Yes, we are expected to win gold. That's correct. It's not that easy, though. So, we've won gold in Beijing in 2008, and we've won it again in London 2012. And then we won the silver medal in 2016 in Rio. And of course, winning gold is the goal. Winning gold is the goal, and that's what we always aim for. That's what we train for. That's what we work for, and that's what we truly believe in ourselves, that we can win a gold medal. But doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't win it, the whole tournament has been a failure, because we know what we've done, we know what we can do, and we know when we have played at our best, but it just like didn't really work out for us in the end. And if I talk about Rio, working towards Rio, we had a change of our coach, which was only 6 months before the Olympics started. So we got a new coach. That was quite hard. And you have to, yeah, like you say, normally you train for 4 years. And now we only had like 6 months with a new coach to train towards the Olympics and to actually still make that final. And yes, it's still painful talking about it that we lost that final, because we played such a great game. I think even our best game that we've ever played with that team, but it just didn't fall our way in the end.
Can I interrupt you there, Eva? Because I just want to remind you of a conversation that you and I had about 8 months after that final in Rio, so in 2017. And I asked you this question, you know, I said to you, how disappointing was it? And you gave me an amazing answer. And it was along the lines of, you know, of course it was disappointing, but when I stepped back and I thought of all the, you said something about the younger girls in the team who hadn't been to previous Olympics, and they're actually leaving an Olympics with a silver medal, you know, and what an unbelievable achievement that is. So can you just sort of expand on that for the kids, you know, how to sort of turn disappointment, because obviously it was disappointing, and especially in the circumstances to lose a penalty shootout, turn that disappointment into, you know, such a positive attitude after the event?
Yeah, it is hard because like I already had won 2 gold medals, which was amazing. And then to win a silver, and I can luckily still say win a silver, because people even say that we have lost gold, but I still think that we've won silver. If you've never experienced the Olympics before, you shouldn't take it away from someone that it's still super special and amazing that you even make it to a final, or that you can play a final, or that you can compete on the highest level, whatever the result is in the end. But it's such an amazing thing. And I thought by saying that we lost gold or that we didn't do well in the end, especially the media was saying that, you take away something that's super special still, winning silver, which is amazing. So yeah, I still feel sorry for them that I couldn't give them the experience to win a gold medal, the one that I had before. And that is still what I'm playing for and training for, to make sure that they hopefully win one in Tokyo. But still, winning a silver medal is amazing. It's a great achievement. It's very special.
And you keep referring in your answer there, and it's a very honest and it's a great lesson to the kids out there about dealing with perceived failure and what is failure. But you kept referring in your answer to the Olympics and the honour of representing yourself at the Olympics. Just tell us what it's like. Take aside hockey, take aside desires to win a medal, to not win a medal. What is it like to go to the Olympics as an athlete?
I think it's, just to, like Tim said already, to represent your country at the highest level possible. And for us, of course, we have World Cups as well, which are amazing to play. But the Olympics is just where all the sports, everything comes together. And just the whole environment in the village, just to be a part of that whole sport environment globally is, it's hard to explain how special it is. Do you have words for it?
Well, just to paint a picture, so I'm not too sure if you're all aware, but there is a food hall which is open 24 hours a day. So I know, Mr. Chapman, you'll probably be in there for at least 23 hours a day. But it's an incredible environment because you have almost every facility available to you as an athlete. You are rubbing shoulders with the best athletes in the world. And you're also having to then perform at your peak, because you trained for this for almost 4 years. So there's a common slogan that goes with the Olympics where it's called post-Olympic depression, and that happens after the Olympics with athletes, because you're on such a natural high for 2 weeks that everything is available to you. Then after Olympics, it's almost like a downer, and it's a hard feeling to explain, but it's just the pinnacle for us as hockey players and many other sporting codes in the world to go to Olympic Games.
Yeah, I mean, there was Eva, the little video that you did recently for the Olympic Channel. You mentioned Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, just as tennis players. I know you're a huge tennis fan yourself, and your brother used to be a professional tennis player. But is it really just like you are literally rubbing shoulders with some of the best sportsmen and women, best sports people in the world, aren't you, at the Olympics? And it doesn't matter what sport you are in.
No, it really is. It's always funny because when you see them there, it's almost like normal that you want to give them a high five, like, hi, Roger, how are you? Even though they're still, like, I mean, to me, he's my hero. Really inspired by him. And just to see them normally in a normal environment there is, it's super special because they're sort of like similar. They're athletes as well, and they're all for the same reason, which is, just amazing to experience.
Yeah. Phenomenal. And Tim, any starstruck moments for you at the Olympics?
Funny enough, I remember sitting next to Andy Murray at breakfast with a few of our team members, and he came and sat next to us because there was no one in our team at that time who wanted to have a photo or get an autograph with us, and he just enjoyed just bantering with us and just having a conversation because, of course, they're such huge superstars that even in an athlete's village, they get bombarded with photos and selfies, and I just remember that moment. And I thought I had an impression of him, and it was a good lesson for me not to judge people before you get to know them, because I thought I judged him with the way he threw his racket on the tennis court and his attitude and his behavior. But he was a great guy, and really we had a fun morning over breakfast.
Have you watched that documentary on Amazon?
I had, and I thought that was fascinating as well. It's incredible, and it's just another example how you've really actually got to understand people before you pass any comments on anyone, whether you've seen them on TV or read about them on the media, because we just don't know what's true until you actually get to know someone or anyone in particular.
Good lesson, and actually the article that I got the kids to read beforehand, it said, the three things that make an Olympian is excellence, friendship, and most importantly, respect. And I think, what you're touching on there is, you've got to respect everyone's own personal character and so on and so forth. Staying on that, just quickly, Eva, winning a gold medal, what's it like?
I remember winning the first one in Beijing. That was just so overwhelming that I couldn't believe that was actually happening to me. I was only 19 back then, so I was definitely one of the youngsters who was able to go to the Olympics, and it was just amazing and the best feeling ever. And I think in 2012, when I was a little bit older, you've been there before, you've done it before, but I think because I was older and I experienced it all a bit more intense, and I think because I felt a bit more responsibility during the tournament as well. That one was very special, especially in London, because to us it was very close to home. So we had a lot of Dutch fans there as well, which was amazing. It was almost like playing at home, that Olympic final. And just to do it again after we've done it already 4 years before was just amazing. So special.
Amazing. Tim, I'm going to totally change tack here, and I want to go back to South Africa. I want to talk about what it's like playing representative sport. So that you alluded to county cricket, so the state system and so on and so forth, and growing up in a country that, sadly is controlled by, long-standing racial issues. We obviously are all aware of the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on at the moment, which is very prevalent in the world. These guys actually have got a talk next week with the guy who was Mandela's warden on Robben Island for his tenure on Robben Island, which will be an amazing opportunity for them to hear his story. Let me just put the first question to you, and we'll expand on it. Can you explain to the kids what the quota system in South Africa is?
Yeah, so just to try and be as simple and brief as possible, it's a system which was put in place to allow more equality within national teams. And so it was sort of, targets, as it were, for a selection. So a certain number of players of color had to be represented within a national team. Can
you just expand on what you mean by players of color? so that the kids have got a proper understanding of the different racial groups in South Africa?
Yeah, we have many racial groups, so it would vary from a non-white to, so your players of color are your African players, your colored players, we call them, and Indians, or any non-color. Yeah, so it was a system because of our history with apartheid and it going back for many years. That it's a very sensitive topic in South Africa, and it's one where I would like to try and steer our guys away from it and more say transformation, and that we're such a diverse country, and that it's such a privilege to have that diversity within our hockey group at the moment. And we're having many conversations as a group right now about these Black Lives Matter conversations. And for us, it's really understanding and listening to the guys who we thought we knew, and we knew where they'd come from, but we actually didn't understand. And now we're really trying to understand, their background and their culture.
Yeah, I mean, can we just expand on that a little bit regarding the Black Lives Matter? I mean, it's difficult for me and the kids that you're talking to today, living in this little bubble in rural Sussex in England. You know, when we're talking about Black Lives Matter and talking about sports systems where colour comes into play, what is it like growing up in South Africa, where the white population is by easily the smallest number, but holds all the power? And you grew up, fortunately, your generation are a lot more understanding and acceptant and inclusive, as you're just referring to with your hockey team. But to try and give the guys listening to you an idea of what it's like growing up in that country. Yeah,
it was, or for, like you say, for us growing up in this generation, some of my best friends are black, and for my parents, I've had many conversations with them where they went through the apartheid eras where there was definitely segregation which happened from the government rule, and it was very difficult for them. And I remember having a conversation with my father when he had a cricket game in the 1970s, and one of the players in his team was a colored man, and no one wanted to be his roommate. But my dad said he would be his roommate, and they've maintained their friendship ever since. So it's definitely a difficult time right now in South Africa, and we've got our own challenges to deal with, let alone what America and the rest of the world are dealing with. And I think it's important that we have conversations with our own communities, and for us, the community is within the hockey group, and we hear and we listen to and we learn about what it means to every single person in that team, whether you are white or non-white, a person of color. So it definitely is a sensitive time at the moment, but I strongly feel that it's a time for change, and it's time for all of us to stand up, and regardless of where you come from or what culture or what background, I think every voice needs to be heard, and it's definitely a time for learning. And
that's linked very closely into what you said about Andy Murray as well. You know, you don't judge someone, you shouldn't judge someone on what you think, and you shouldn't judge someone on the colour of skin. But just, what are the actual stats that you're still faced with, Tim, in terms of how many people you're allowed to select for your Olympic hockey squad when you actually go eventually?
So currently we have a squad of, the Olympics, the squad will be selected on, I think it's 20 players, and the government has placed a transformation number that the half of those players have to be of color, so of white descent, and that's just in place in the government. Whether the selectors maintain that criteria, it's up to them. But it's definitely, we feel that all the guys in our team are there on merit, and that's what we will definitely try and maintain within the group, that everyone there is on merit and is not there because of their skin color.
You've been in the international hockey arena for a long time now, and I think it would be accurate for me to say that some of your best friends have finished playing hockey because of the racial situation in South Africa and the perceived injustice in terms of the selection. Is that fair and accurate of me?
Yes and no. They've also finished because of family matters, and because hockey is an amateur sport in South Africa. So we don't get paid to play hockey in South Africa. We have to find other jobs and ways of funding tours. And unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have a team sponsor. So yeah, everyone has a different endpoint, and yeah, some of my good friends have come overseas and played hockey and started a family and found a job in Europe. So they thought that was a long-term sustainable future for them.
Brilliant. Thank you for that answer, and hopefully giving the guys a little bit more understanding of just one small, very small issue faced with South Africa and so on and so forth. I'm going to just move to the side again here, guys, go something different. And before I do, just remember, guys, I've got a few questions to ask Eva and Tim. Keep typing them on the posts chat or drop me an email as well. But the first one I'm going to go to is, obviously you are both currently captain of your national team, which must be an amazing privilege. Eva, do you want to just talk about that? Because, you said, you won a gold medal when you were 19, but you've only been captain now. Is it the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that change for you?
I think it's mostly changed towards the outside. So not really within my team, but mostly towards the media. You get a bit more attention in interviews that way. And otherwise, it hasn't really changed for me. I've always been a player who feels responsible for how we play. To me, it's just a tiny little change in more towards the outside of the world instead of within the team. Not really a very big change. And
Tim, what about for you?
Similar to Eva's answer. It's also, we have a little bit more media attention if you captain, whether it's newspapers or TV would like to speak to the captain. Just like a headmaster of a school that would have to represent the entire school, we have to represent the entire squad, and it's important that we maintain the culture of what the squad is going through. And you whether you're the captain or a player in the squad, you're still a role model for many people, and that's what I've tried to maintain, that I'm not someone different just because I have this small title of a captain next to my name.
That's a great final comment. Direct question regarding this. Were you always captains as you were growing up as kids?
No, I haven't always been a captain. Sometimes, but no, not always being that leader or the captain actually in the teams. No.
And Tim, what about you?
Ever since I think my brother bowled me a bouncer in backyard garden cricket, I then try to stand my 2 feet on the ground and be a captain since then. And I actually have been since junior school being captains of the teams I've been involved in. I think maybe it's got a little bit to do with my personality that, if Mr. Chapman needs to go to square leg on the cricket field, I think I'll tell him to go to square leg.
They're amazing. So 2 international captains, guys. One not really a captain as she grew up, and the other one always a captain. So there we go. It doesn't really matter whether you are a captain or not. Going direct hockey question now, because I know it's come from Amelia and she'll kill me if I don't ask this. Eva, what silky skill do you rely on to beat the defender every time? We've just lost you. Have you muted yourself? I can't hear you. Hold on a moment. Oh, that's better.
Yeah, are we there?
Yeah. Did you hear the question about the silky skill?
Yes. And I wanted to say that I don't really have a lot of skills, and I'm more of like the passing game. So I'm actually a player who always is looking for a pass. But then if I do have to pick a skill, I would maybe go for like little air lifts, actually. That's what I often try to do. But once again, I'm more someone who will pass the ball and then hopefully get it back a bit later on the field. I like the passing game.
Nice. Okay. And another question, and maybe for you, Tim, is there extra pressure for playing for your country in the Olympics than in another international tournament? So just before you answer that, Tim, just to give the kids some background information for the South African men's hockey team to qualify for the Olympics, you have to win the African Cup of Nations, don't you? Just coming second is no good.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have that tournament which happens every 2 years, and that's our Olympic qualifier. And I would say that those games are generally it's South Africa versus in Egypt because they're our strongest opponent. And if you are playing away in Egypt, they will make it extremely tough for you in all conditions. So they will make sure that, your journey from the hotel to the AstroTurf has been delayed or your bus won't turn up. So I think from a pressure and a challenge perspective, those games to qualify for Olympics have always been extremely tough. But there's no difference in any other international game you play. And I think generally the pressure comes more from yourself. You put yourself, or I put myself under pressure to perform for my teammates and for South Africa. But it's I think those qualifying games are very challenging games.
Yeah, interesting, because obviously there's a huge amount riding on it. And as we started the conversation, the achievement of getting there is huge for you guys in South Africa. Eva, I'll put this question to you. How do you prepare yourself for a game?
I do a little bit of visualization, actually. So I think maybe
the kids a little bit, please, Eva, because that's something that we try and encourage the kids now they've reached the 13 years old. Talk to them a little bit about visualization. So do you want to just expand a little bit on that for them?
Yeah, sure. So I often do it actually the night before a game, especially if it's a big game. For me, it's a way to really focus on what I'm doing and what we are doing as a team. And I just sort of picture myself already in the game that I'm going to play. So I do see, I see us play as a team. I see myself play. I sometimes score cracking goals and then I never end up scoring them like that. But it's just to get that sort of positive mindset and to really get into, that sort of vibe to prep myself for a game. And I really enjoy it too. It keeps me calm, it keeps me super focused and actually excited to go and play that game. And after that, I often feel ready for it. What I often do as well when I'm really nervous, that we've had this thing with see, hear, or feel, and I actually really enjoy to focus on what I feel. So then if I'm actually, you can do it already before they blow the whistle that the game is going to start. You just feel how my stick is in my hand and how nice it feels, or how your 2 feet are grounded on the turf and how steady you are. And I think those little things really help me to sort of distract me from my nerves and what's going on around me, and just really focus on myself and being there in the moment, and just to let all the tension go. And that really helps for me often.
It's a really interesting answer. I have one more question for you both, but before I do, guys, we're going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes, because I know that Tim and Eva have got busy schedule. Well, Eva has a busy schedule. If any of you have any final questions, I'm seeing them on the post, some of them with Harvey. We answered that question early on about how many years does it take to prepare for the Olympics. That was about 3. I've done the silky skill one, a couple of the other ones we've talked about. So just have a think and drop me in my email or on the post chat, guys. But Tim, Eva, you've done 2 Olympics? No, because you weren't allowed. You didn't go to Rio. 1 Olympics, London. Eva, you've done 3, but you've both had a long international career. Longer than many people in other sports. It's 13, 14 years, I think, if my maths is about right. I don't want to tell them how old you are. What is, Tim, let's start with you and then I'll go to Eva. What is the secret to keep going? How on earth have you still got the motivation to still be playing hockey at the highest level for your club in Holland as well, but also for your country?
I think one is definitely just pure enjoyment. I get such joy out of playing on the field and training and going through difficult times and pushing myself to limits which I don't think is possible. And then 2, just very competitive. I think it's when you're playing games, you yeah, you're not only representing yourself and your family, but your teammates, and you always have this will to try and give of your best. So you are performing your role, and yeah, and make sure that it's you leaving. Yeah, you can walk off the field and you say you've given it everything. And I think for you kids and your exams coming up and finishing your primary school, that if you can just walk away saying you've given it all you can for your years and going into high school, then it's the outcome is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what happens. It's something that you can look back on and say you've created so many memories, and it's been a really enjoyable time. So one, pure enjoyment. And I said to myself, until I stop enjoying it or I can't add value to the team environment, whether that's helping a youngster gain experience or get through coming into the squad, those sort of transition periods, then I'll step away from the game, I think. And if I'm not fit enough, obviously, I must be playing on merit.
Yeah, good point. And Eva, what about you? Long career.
Yeah, for me, it's exactly the same, actually. It's all about enjoying it. I love hockey. I just love the game, love to play it, love the whole team environment in it. And of course, there's sometimes moments that you don't enjoy it, and that's okay. But the moments that you actually love it and are enjoying it, that's, the most important things. And they weigh so much more compared to the ones that are more enjoyable. And I stepped away from international hockey and hockey in general in 2017 after the 2016 Olympics, because I was playing already for such a long time and I lost my enjoyment a bit. And then I went to South Africa to just get away for a while, and that actually really helped me to find my enjoyment back in the game. And here I am 2 years later, just really enjoying it again and playing at my best.
I think it's an amazing message to finish on today, both of you, in terms of, if you don't enjoy playing, don't play. You've got to have enjoyment. And also, I suspect that you'll agree with me if I say you're never going to be the best you can possibly be if you don't enjoy what you're doing.
Yes, 100% agree.
So I suspect it's also taken you both an enormous amount of hard work to stay there. And I think that's the other message that the kids can take away. Guys, if you were standing in our theatre or in one of our classrooms talking to the kids now, I'm sure they'd give you a massive round of applause. They can't do that now, but on behalf of all of the kids who have joined, it's been fascinating, a real treat. We feel very spoiled to have you both talk to us this morning, and thank you very much. So if the guys want to just start hanging up now, so I can just thank Eva and Tim privately, that would be great. But thank you on behalf.
Can we wish everyone all the best going into high school next?
Thank you, Tim.
Enjoy it. Got some great years ahead of you. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Well done, guys.
Thank you.